welcome back. Got the fiber optics in. Everything's working. Just doing one last check before we close it up. Got the flashboard hot glued on there. I have the speed dial for the flashing pretty much all the way down. You can go real fast, much faster than that. You can get up to like where it's like that, but we want her all the way down. And that way it's flickering between the lights up on the tips and then the lights down in the bottom. I was almost wondering if I had a switch where I could switch these lights also to steady on, constantly on. So we can actually close this up. Everything's lighting okay. This is going to be the fun part, because I almost should get two more of these. I want these strong ones. There they are. It's like I know I have a drawer of them. I don't only keep two out available. I think I only have four altogether. Yeah, I have a bunch of these, which are nice, but they're about mid-strength. These are a little stronger, so we'll see. It's going to need it. Hopefully it won't crush it too much. Getting these up here, but yeah, it's time to glue. It's gonna be fun, because it's fun to just get it snapped together. So what we'll do is we'll put a little glue in these registry points. I guess I could put some in here. That's where that section there is going to hit. Let's get some in this corner. Actually, I think I can put some all up in here. Alright. Well, nothing to it but to do it, and then we'll come in. Let's detach all this. We'll come in with the thin set and hopefully get it all to set in. But we got to guide a whole bunch of stuff in at the same time. Get this all in the center here. You were going to want to tuck like that. We're going to want to make sure nothing's hitting the fiber optics, especially. You were going to tuck down more. And this should be fun getting all those in. It's kind of like you can get one side in. I'll see. I think that sometimes the glue helps things set. You can get one side in. And I think now if I can clamp it. It might be easier than what I was doing before. Oh, look at here. we got a wire sneaking out of the ship here. Get in there. That's that light to the strobe. There we go. That center, I wish I could get something in there. I don't know, I need like a big, let's move you guns a different way so you're not hitting the clamps. That's the kind of the nice thing about that, being able to move. Alright, now, can we get the other end? We don't want, because there's a point where they want to stop when they go up and down. And right there's that stop point. We're going to move your guns out of the way again. Not too bad. Yeah, much easier with having things holding the other end. I wish that would close a little more. There we go. Only problem about this model is there's just way too many things to bump into. As far as guns everywhere, it's like I would probably hold off and put these guns on way later after you glue all this other stuff, because that way you're not knocking them and bending them, and eventually you're going to bend them so many times because they just seem to be always where you need to put a hand, or but after a while you might bend them so many times that they'll break. Definitely see I gotta file the front end there. Just trying to be careful not to get this glue anywhere on those movable parts. That's doing pretty good. Get you away from there a little bit. There's that gnat again. I missed. Alright, where else can we get glue? Along this whole bottom here. How are we fitting? Pretty good. It's the nice thing about this extra thin, it'll fall down in and wick its way around that joint. The more we can close them up, the more the better. But that one there, that's the one that caught, and we probably bent it a little bit out of shape. But nothing putty and all that stuff can't. I wish I could keep pressure right there. I need like a big C clamp. I mean, I have that one, but I need two, so. Actually, it's staying together now. Just as it softens that plastic. But I'm liking that. We're going to let her go. Sometimes the more you fiddle, the worse it gets. You get it to the best position it can be. Is a 2. I think you belong up here. 2, 4, 6. I have 6 of those small ones because they come in handy. Even these cheap little things from the dollar store are great. They have like a latex or metal dipped in latex. So this doesn't always help because you eventually wear through that latex, but they work. They're strong and they're great for like things like that. They're really strong. There she is. The bottom is on. And we got our powers coming out. I put the landing gear together. So they'll go in here like this. I don't believe it's going to have any strength because they actually want a support that comes from in here down to this leg to help if you were going to use these feet to actually hold this ship up, which I recommend not. As far as if you don't put that support in. Let's see if it even can try. Yeah, no. Well, now I have these here holding it. But yeah, it's bending the crap out of them. But if it had those supports that go, they get glued in here, and then they would get glued up in there. Is there a certain way these go? There we go, now it's going in. Not having them in all the way might not help them support it either. This one I might have to sand a little more to get it in there. I wonder if that gave it a little more. A little more. No, that's holding it up. There's nothing touching but that landing gear. That's not bad. Yeah, so if you definitely got the little support, I could always glue the support here and just have it sit there and then it's ready. But I'm never going to have it because it's going to be wired to the base and to a pole. But I figured if I wanted to pop them on when I want to have like wings up mode, like this, I could have those on. And all you have to do is slide those open door bays, door covers right in those notches, and then you'd have the doors. Now for the closed ones, I can put a magnet down there and then it'll just snap in there when I have it in fly mode. But yeah, I figured I'd build them and I can always put them in on if I want to display it, you know, like if she's coming in for a landing. That would be the way to do it, is just stick them in and then glue that piece right in there and have it sit in the right spot in the bay and let it cure. And then when you pull these out, it should still be able to pull out. Yeah, because that's going to come out of there and go right to there. And that way, when this wants to flex like that, it gave it some stability. And you should still be able to, and that support be right there. But if I can get away without that support, because I don't think that support is something you see in the movie, and since it's not going to hold the weight, I'm not going to put it on there, that support going up, because it's just going to be floating with it there, so I don't even have to worry about that. I just, in here, they have like a little sconce looking round circle with wire, like conduits coming out of it. So I'm saying that's like a junction box. I can put one of these. I got a whole slew of these magnets. I could put one of those there. And then put one on the doors that are permanently closed. And that way I can just, because there's no latch for them. They just kind of, unless they press in. Sometimes if they press in, I won't even have to worry about that. If they have like a snug fit. But just in case they don't, that would be what I would do. But again, I keep rambling on. Let's let this thing sit, but I am going to at least let you see what's going on here one more time. All these top ones and all three of them are working really good. That, and this one. And then these two front ones are working good. This one's not so much, and I don't know why. I think it's just the fiber, where there has so many little cracks in it or something. I need to order a brand new bundle of clear fiber. She's going to set about right there. So that's going to give a nice spot on the base. But there we go. And I'm really happy with the interior button lights. Oh, and then the engine's glowing pretty good, and that still has masking on it. And that's glowing through the plastic and the masking. But until next update, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Well, hello. I was looking at the landing gear here. Everything's working good on the rest of the ship. The base glued on pretty good. I'm going to have to, like I said, probably do a little squeezing here. To get that glued in. everything else looks good, and the wings still move. But that's that one that got caught on the wing, and so it's probably got a little bit of a, it bent it a little bit, so it's wanting to stay open. But if I can get it closed like that, like it's staying there, I might even just, for giggles, I haven't been cleaning the needle before I close it, but that's because sometimes you're so busy. Gluing something that you can't, your hands are full to close that up. So we'll let that sit in there and maybe close that gap up. But all in all, it looks great. I glued these up, and I'm going to make these in case I want to just stick them on, even though she's going to be on a base and sitting up on a pole. I figured, when I want to have the wings up, like she's coming down for her landing, and I can have the landing gear or the ramp open. I mean, the only real reason to have the ramp open if it was actually on the ground, because that's when they would open that. But, unless I did a battery-powered thing, and I don't want to do a battery-powered thing. These are the landing gear covers I'm going to use. And depending on how well they fit on there, but I think I still am going to glue a magnet there, and then there's a little round detail. It almost looks like a circular junction box, if you're familiar with that. And then you have like conduit or MC cable coming to them. I can put the magnet right on that, and it'll look part of that little detail. And in here I'll have to build up a little bit because there's depth, but I'll just take a little styrene rod, like something like this, and do that and glue the magnet so it's closer to that magnet. And like I said, once you won't see it once it's on here. It'll look like just that. And they got little whoobies. And that one's a different one. It's kind of like a dome this way, but this one's kind of like a weird cloud looking thing. Like a thundercloud. I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, that's how we'll deal with that. But if I want to use the open ones, they just slide in these little rails here. So I could probably get them, especially with paint added on, they'll fit in there tight. Or I can just press them on, and then take the landing gear and just slide it in there. And then it looks like it has landing gear. But they gave you these little things that are supposed to go right here in like this, which if you were actually going to have this model sit on these feet, you would have to do that, because otherwise they're going to want to, with this little piece here, they're going to want to do this. All the weight of that ship's going to make that want to do that. So that's why they have, get that in camera, all the weight is going to be on this ship, and it's going to want to make this thing go like that and lift up. So they have this little support piece that goes there and meets a trench in there, and it gives it support. Like you can see this one's given once it gets glued there. But it's pretty much like a really bad square or rectangle, and then they have the angle for the way it sits on there. This one side's not too bad. It kind of tapers in too. It kind of tapers like that. Like this is wider than this side. Just a hair. Which is okay. It's not a complete square, but the side that you're going to look at is really horrible. Like this is looks like the more finished side, but that's the side that's going to be facing in. So I decided to, something like this would have more, landing gear would have like a rod, because it would have hydraulics for them to come out. And then what I'm doing to get the angle that they have is I was just laying it on here like this, just holding it and then cutting it. And then that gives me my my angle. And then right now I'm going to butt them up again, and we're going to cut it again to length. Oh, that works great. And that looks so much better than a square piece of plastic, because it kind of goes with all the rest of the rods coming down for the landing gear, you know, the hydraulics and stuff. I probably could even made this. I probably could. You can make it out of tubing. That's a rod, solid. I could probably make this piece a tube and stick a smaller. Really, it should go the opposite way. Even though they have their thicker parts down here on this hydraulic. Or you could do it either way, but I would think the skinnier part of the hydraulic would be out there, because the main part would come down and then this other end would come out and push. But it could do it up here too. But what you could do is use a thicker tubing here and just cut it to where you want to look like a hydraulic cylinder that the piston goes in, and then you stick a smaller run that fits just in the tube to go the rest of the way, and then that would give you your dimension. And I wonder if do I have ones that can do that. I'm getting low on these piping and tubes and rods. That's tubing. It's not terribly much smaller, but then what can I fit in there? It would have to be something like this. And then you have that stepping in size with that one going inside. I could do that. That would definitely look better if I had the thicker up top, but I don't think it would definitely wouldn't give any strength. But like I said, I'm not really ever. And keep that small part smaller. I wish this was a little bigger. Like there's too much of a difference between the two. It wouldn't be bad if this was thicker, if everything was a little bit larger. I still think this is too big. It's like I need a size. I actually need that size with a bigger, with this rod. But they're both rods, unless I try to drill a hole in that. And I wouldn't have to go all the way through. That's very interesting. Yeah, I would only have to drill a little hole just to get this piece in there. Maybe, yay deep. And then get the size of this. Get my little drill out. Is this already set up for the right? Nope, we gotta go way bigger. Which means I probably have to switch this around, except a bigger bit. Yep. And I'll try to find center. Like I said, I don't have to go deep, but I want some depth because I want it to have something good to glue onto. I guess, but it's not going to hold any weight. This is all going to be show. Yeah, and then that fits straight. How far are we going? Let's go a little more. Why not? I think the more I have in there, and the more stable this rod will fit in there. Now, how do we do this in length? Well, I guess I figure out how big I want that to come out. And I could probably make an angle on this too. But mostly they just have that fit in there, and they have a little notch, two little things that it can catch. I'm going to mark this with a pencil. Yeah, I'm thinking at least half of it. Is these exactly... so what we'll do is we'll do this. I can make them same on both sides. Use my grid on my cutting board. We'll just go off of that, and I say we go right to there. It's a little more than half is the solid, the bigger. I wonder if I should use my razor blade. It might cut this a little smoother. And that's the side with the hole, yep. See how much goes down in there. That's the problem. Well, the other one I'll make a little better. I will do this, and then I can cut the angle or file the angle second. I think that's what we do. Cut a new angle on this. Let's get some glue down there. There we go. Alright, let's make our next one. So this one we're gonna do the same thing. That. Cool. That away. I cut that really nice. Scuff off the burrs. I'm just kind of eyeing the center. Oh, I did really good on this one. The other one was kind of off on one side, but you really can't tell once it's all setting up. Do this, it keeps it more level. Yeah, this isn't that much more work to give this detail. And we'll just stick this in and glue it, and then we'll cut that end off as well. Fill that hole up with glue. Yeah. Like that's much nicer to look like a actual rod hydraulics. I think that's gonna come across way better going in there. Oh, that looks great. That looks way better. So that's, I'm glad I talked myself into doing that. I wonder if now would probably be a good time to glue this up. We're not going to glue it up to there. We're just going to glue it there, and then hopefully that's enough to hold it all together. Yep. And just give it a little scuff to get rid of the burrs. That's sweet. And yeah, and then I can go in there and paint that a silver and leave that all hull color. And the same thing with that area, I can paint silver. And then it looks like we have hydraulic, the actual silver parts of the hydraulic are on opposite sides. But I just wanted to show you that update. And then I got to put these scoops on, which go right in these areas here. So they'll be coming down low and sitting right in there. So I gotta get those on. And then I just have the guns, and they have like a half shield cover. And then I have those guns there in the front. Well, hello and welcome back. Just gluing these guns on, but I'm also tightening up the seam here on this edge. We had that one, which was not staying together, but I actually did get a clamp there to hold that together, and now I'm working on this front half, because we really need to have this seam really nice and tight and glued on really well, because that's going to deal with the stress of the wings going up and down. How well, I think I got all this side pretty well. But for now, we're getting these front guns on. Let's see if I can get it spun around. I gotta be careful because there's fiber optics everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but on these tips, and I always keep hitting them, and I don't want to bend them and stress them out too much. But getting those front guns on, so those are looking good. And I got these pieces on. They're like little scoops, and boy, that made a difference. But one thing I did notice, like, their panels are a raised panel, and it just comes straight down, so you kind of have to, it doesn't allow this to get really tight, even though the glue might have, at this thickness, might have melted it. But what I did is I put the piece there dry, made a pencil mark, and then took a little file or sandpaper or something and just sanded it away, and then that fit much tighter. And I made my own little supports here. They just had like a little square, because when this sits in the ship, the weight of the ship actually wants to push it like that, so they devised a little support that goes up in there, so that'll hit and press. But it was just a little square, so I took 2 pieces of styrene, a little rod and a tube, and made a piston out of it, so it looks, you know, more like an actual landing gear would look like. Because I don't know if that's canon, that support thing, but at least now it looks like something that's for real, not just a square stick holding it. But yeah, I figured I would, because you can just slide those in and they fit in pretty snug, so I could always have those in. And then the landing gear, here's the bay doors. I'm going to put magnets on here, so when I want the legs off, I can just clip, and it'll clip those onto the bottom. So that's how I'll solve that problem. And there's a perfect little detail in here. You see that little cylinder? It looks like a junction box, you know, like a circle junction box, and it has like cables coming into it. I can put the magnet, it will fit right over that, and you'll never notice. You know, it'll go with that detail. And then put another magnet on the end of the store. That way we can just the right one. Yeah, we can just magnetize those right in there, because they fit loose. So that's what we'll do there. And then when I want them open and I want the open bays, they just slide right in those little trenches, so I can just whoop, you know, so there's the actual opens, because the open ones have like in half here, so one half of the bay door will be here, one there, so that'll be cool. But what else are we doing? Oh, we can get this last gun glued on here. I'm leaving these things out because I think I'm going to do them a lighter gray, and instead of masking it, I can just not put them in there. So that's why I have that out still. I can glue that in once I start painting. It's trying to keep all this square and in line. And I'll go in with a little bit of this because it'll. Alright. There ain't much more I can do. I really want this side to dry. Because it's hard to work on with the wings down. So it's much easier to fold it up. But where are we getting to here? I think we're getting close to painting. Once we get filling up this seam. This seam's going to be the seam. Everything else seems, as far as seam wise, is really nice. Even up here, the way those worked. I'll probably hit them with a little surface primer, and that'll fill that any weirdness in. So yeah, next, once this cures, we're up to puttying. Well, I got that seam puttied. It's a pretty doozy seam, you know, because it's just hard parts to really get closed. I mean, you only got this little part here, and those two parts that got to go together. So that's the one that wanted to be the most flexible. This one pretty good. But the biggest thing is that there's the stair stepping. You know, when one half actually steps a little more than the other because of the mold. So here we're all puttied. I did that yesterday as I was doing some editing, and here I actually started sanding. I should have filed. I usually like to file the plastic smooth before I really start filling the rest of it up with the putty, but I just kind of went for it. But I did get in here and start filing away, which I had to file down some plastic. I think it was the upper one. That is, yeah, I believe it's the upper half that's kind of overlapping more. This, yeah, especially right here, and in here I could get them pretty tight together, and this and here. The more up here is where it didn't want to really line up, and it's lined up everywhere else, like on the inside there. But that's just the way it is. So we're doing a little filing. It's something. Then once I could get rid of some of the rough putty there, I can actually move the wing, and it was actually easier to finish up with that wing down. It gives you a little more exposure to that seam. So I'm gonna, lightly sand it some more. I was mainly hitting it with a file, and I'll come through here and start running some sandpaper by hand, and we'll get that a little smoother. And then I think I'll put some of that surface primer. Bring this up. I'm really happy that those are closing up and down fairly easy. But then I'll use some of the Tamiya surface primer, which you can brush on. I got it in a white and a gray. It's really nice. It's a lacquer base, and like I said, you can brush it on. It's real thick, so you can brush it on. It'll actually shrink quite a bit when it dries because of all the solvents that are in it. So yeah, you definitely want to use this in a ventilated area because it is lacquer, and it does put off a lot of lacquer thinner and acetones. But it works great for filling up seams, where putty is just too fine. Plus, it also gives your putty that's already there a little toughness. So when you want to do a final sand for your seam, it's not all breaking apart. But it fills minor, small imperfections. That's how I like on my D7 battle cruisers, my little ones, where there was some really bad areas where things had to come together. This help clean up that top seam, especially on a D7. Katinga's is supposed to have like some contrast in the top and the sides. The sides and the bottom are really smooth on the D7. So all those seam work has to be nice and smooth. And this worked great for that. So I know it's going to work good in here. There's a little seamage here. It's not open at all, and it almost, goes off as a panel line, so I might just see what it looks like just lightly sanding some of the excess glue that came out, and just running some of that in there and just sanding it away. I don't mind if it has a little bit of seam, because ships are built in parts. So that does look like that would be a manufacturing panel that would go on there when they're building it. So, but this here, I would like to get rid of. So we'll finalize with that, and I think that'll work good. Other good thing about this is you can actually go and thin it out with some lacquer thinner and spray it, and it's just like that really good Tamiya fine primer. That's really fine. That doesn't really hide your detail. You can do that with this as well. Like I said, it's all touching up and to get ready for paint, and the base is pretty much ready. I got the rod glued in, and all this is glued down, ready to go. I actually even had it on, sitting overnight on it, to make sure this is going to hold, and it's holding fine. And it holds it, like, it's not, I thought it would be kind of unstable. Even with the wings up, especially. I thought it would be a little unstable sitting on this base with a little footprint in this big ship. But it sits up there fine. I mean, I even wiggled the table, and she only just kind of, I mean, the model's not heavy. But I think it'll even be better with the wings down, because it'll put a little bit of a balance there. So that's where we're at. Well, hello everyone. Got her masked up in the cockpit area. Cleaned up this edge. It's a really bad seam here on both sides. Wings are going up and down. I still have a fear of this area here wanting to separate again, because I've had it happen a couple times already. I think it's the stress load that these round things going inside there. I think they grab and then they open it. It's not that side, it's this side. It's kind of giving me, but I think I might have got it. I did some super glue and regular glue, and we'll see what happens. But we're ready to hit this with some pre-shading. I masked off the lights down here too. Got those two masked off with some micro mask. But off to the spray booth. Well, alright, here she is with our little bit of pre-shading. And I hit in the seam areas, and everything's looking satisfactory. I'm going to be okay with a little bit of the dents and scratches. That side looks really nice. I think here I'll just do a little, no, that looks good too. We're looking good. There's the underside. I'm going to leave this all open so I can spray inside. These wings are so big. So I can spray inside the landing gear, and then I'll put the magnet and stuff in there. And I've just been spraying, pre-shading the compartments by themselves, and the landing gear I hit with a little bit of black. And the cockpit's all masked up, so we're ready to go for a full-on paint. Get this hull painted. But I believe I'm going to take this downstairs, because my air booth, my spray booth, this already is like ready to hit. And if I put it on the little spinny thing, it's definitely hitting. And then these wings sit out so far I can't even turn it. So I think I'll use my bigger gun downstairs. I got to get that medium size one going. I need the correct adapters for my hose. So I think what I'm going to do, this is the pale gray, I'm going to use at first to get most of the buildup with just your regular Nita's white, and then I'll come out and then I'll go through my last coats with the pale gray to give it the color. Sometimes that's okay to do. I did that with the Enterprise because I wanted to make sure I had, because I mixed that color myself and then I made a big amount of it, so I knew, and hope and prayed it would be enough to spray the whole ship plus for touch-ups. And in order not to use a lot of it, I just used the gray base color to build it up, especially with these craft acrylics. You got to get a couple coats on it. It doesn't build up that fast, and if you try to spray it too heavy, you'll run by the time you thin it down to where it works well. So you got to build up a few coats and dry it, and then, you know. So I did the base gray and then did the actual color I wanted, the hull, and it's only a hair off, so it works well. And this is just a shade off of white, so I can do a couple good coats with white and then come back and give the color with, you know, maybe 2 coats, which won't be a lot. With, you know, like I said, it dries really thin and it doesn't its coverage isn't extreme, especially because you don't want it to run. So that's where we're at, and I am going to go down there and start mixing up some paint.